Now, in this video, I'm not going to go ahead and really talk about what happened in Georgia when it came to that school pow pow. I'm also not saying that what happened in Georgia was fake. A lot of times, real people are caught up in these agendas. But there was something going on these past couple months that I really do want to talk about that involves Thomas Matthew Crooks, the individual who supposedly caused the incident at Trump's rally on July 13th. This is something I have been talking about in every one of my videos that has to do with July 13th. I stated Thomas Matthew Crooks was not the individual who was seen on the roof. It was another individual. This is why we had the FBI quickly cleaning up the crime scene. And the FBI, they do not do that. This is why we had the FBI quickly dispose of Thomas Matthew Crooks' body, or supposedly his body anyway. 2 weeks after the event, they give the body back to the families for a cremation, so no other department within the United States could examine the body to make sure everything lines up with what the FBI were stating. Now, in every one of those videos, every one of those damn videos, and you can go back yourself and search my Trump rally videos, I said they were going to use Thomas Matthew Crooks in a school pow pow agenda, and they had the narratives mixed up. They had the wires crossed. Listen to this video I made on July 17th, and you will see how eerily accurate I was to how everything's playing out because the writing was on the wall. I even said in that video, if a school pow pow event does happen, remember who the original suspect was meant to be. I have to say that this video is for entertainment purposes only. When I say Maxwell Yearick is the suspect, I am only saying he is the suspect behind this incident at Trump's rally. As of right now, there is no concrete proof that Maxwell Yearick attended this rally. There is no concrete proof that Maxwell Yearick had done anything wrong on July 13th, 2024. The only reason why I am using Maxwell Yearick's name is because this is the name originally given, this is the photo originally given by news and media before investigators accidentally slipped up and they said they collected DNA at the scene, and what returned almost instantly was Thomas Matthew Crooks' DNA. So if they go back now and say, oops, we slipped up, it was actually Maxwell Yearick who was at the scene, then who was Thomas Matthew Crooks? Where did you get that DNA from? Well, Thomas Matthew Crooks, like I had said, was going to be used in another agenda. I do believe still that October surprise, that school pow pow surprise, because again, Thomas Matthew Crooks' MO connects to somebody who would do a school pow pow. Maxwell Yearick's MO connects to somebody who would take their anger out on Trump because he already has that history. Wouldn't it make more sense that Thomas Matthew Crooks would take out a school given the fact he was bullied and made fun of, had no friends, he was a loner? He would take his revenge out on that school and people connected to that school, teachers like we have previously seen in these other school pow pow events, as opposed to taking his revenge out on Donald Trump. Given the fact that people who have spoke out on Thomas Matthew Crooks' behalf has stated Thomas Matthew Crooks was a staunch conservative. Not only that, his family had signs of Trump outside their home. So I'll tell you what I think happened. I strongly believe that these two men were patsies. Two agendas had accidentally crossed paths, and now there is no going back. Now they quickly have to build a narrative for Thomas Matthew Crooks. If a school pow pow event does indeed still happen in October, remember who the original suspect was meant to be. They were building these events like what happened in Georgia happen all the time, but they seem to mainly happen around the time of the election cycle when votes are needed. Now, whether voting is real or not, that's completely up to you, but they still need to have certain events to happen to stir up these emotions. Thomas Matthew Crooks, he was the individual to cause a school pow pow event either in September or October, as I said in my previous videos, but they had his name mixed up with another individual, and since they released his name in error and too early, now they had to do a Build-A-Bear narrative with Thomas Matthew Crooks. 2 months later, and we still have zero information on Thomas Matthew Crooks' motive. 2 months later, and we still have zero information on that white van. Matter of fact, any politician that's supposed to be investigating what happened on July 13th where they are grilling the Secret Service and so forth, you will notice none of them talk about the white van. The white van where news and media released footage of it being towed away where they said there was explosives inside. This van was linked to Thomas Matthew Crooks, but it had Arizona license plates. Arizona is linked to this other individual, yet, like I said, you will not hear anybody from Congress talk about the white van because it is the biggest indicator that wires have been crossed. Two different agendas, two different narratives had been crossed. We also have to ask ourselves, where is this other individual who is linked to Arizona? Why has he not spoken out yet 2 months later? His name is still being fired up on Twitter and other forms of social media. Yet, you would think he would come out and give a statement or post something or make a video statement saying he was not at the rally. And that would instantly prove that he could not be the person that was on the roof because the person on the roof is deceased. Now, if this individual does come out a month later, 2 months later, a year later, and makes a video saying, look, I'm still alive, I could not have been the person on the roof on July 13th, yes, some of us, including myself, may say that's AI, that's not really him, but like with Kate Middleton on March 22nd, the day of Skull and Bones, where everybody thought she was missing, she disappeared, something terrible happened to her, she comes out on video and says that, well, she had cancer or has cancer. That stopped a lot of speculation. A lot of people still thought she was AI giving that statement, but it still slowed down a lot of speculation. So again, you have to ask yourself, where is this individual who is linked to Arizona and why was his social media scrubbed? Then you'll have some people saying, then if that was not Thomas Matthew Crooks who was on the roof and it was this individual, then where is Thomas Matthew Crooks? We even have multiple people offering thousands of dollars in rewards for irrefutable proof that this individual is still alive. But going back to Thomas Matthew Crooks, then if Thomas Matthew Crooks was not the one on the roof, then what happened to Thomas Matthew Crooks? Well, I can tell you one thing, we will never see or hear from Thomas Matthew Crooks again. His name is already out there, his name is already used, so he cannot be used in another agenda. You cannot hear a couple months later from July 13th that Thomas Matthew Crooks caused a school pow-pow. Who even knows if Thomas Matthew Crooks was real to begin with? He could be an AI generated person, we don't know. You don't know his family, you do not know him. This is why they choose people with very little social media background. This is why they choose people with no friends. Well, Minutes of Horror, news and media had given us video footage where he is seen graduating. He has to be a real person. You do not know what this video footage is. It could be AI as well. I had made a previous video showing how far along AI has come in a span of a year, and this is only what the public sees. You can have well-trained people in certain organizations carry out these events with thousands of dollars worth of weaponry and blame it on an AI person, and we would never know the difference. Look at this odd 4-second looped video of Thomas Matthew Crooks supposedly spotted at the rally on July 13th. You compare this video to another AI video that was recently released. Now, I'm not saying that Thomas Matthew Crooks is not a real person. All I'm saying is we never know. We never ever know in the day and age of AI. But why do I believe that Thomas Matthew Crooks was the person chosen for a school pow-pow event? That is because his whole background, his whole narrative screamed a person that would cause a school pow-pow event. Everything given by news and media, all the interviews that were conducted, never linked properly to somebody who had a political agenda. Somebody who was going to take his revenge out on a president.
One thing that we also heard from that conversation is that when we asked what he was bullied for, what this shooter was bullied for, he pointed to his clothing. Apparently, according to this person who says he was a classmate, he would wear military style clothes or hunting clothes regularly as he was at school. So
I mean, he would sit alone at lunch. I mean, he was just an outcast, and you know how kids are nowadays, so they're gonna see someone like that and they're gonna target him because they think it's funny or whatever. So it's the best way I can describe it, and it's honestly kind of sad. Like, I don't want to say this is what provoked it, but you never know.
Yeah. You said he was a loner?
Yeah. I want to say he was a loner more because he was quiet, but like he was just bullied. Like he was bullied so much.
This was high school.
Yeah.
What did they, do you remember at all what they said to him or called him?
No. He was just made fun of, I guess, for the way he dressed or his appearance.
Thomas Matthew Crooks was a 20-year-old man. He went to college for 2 years. He had a 2-year degree. Thomas Matthew Crooks also held down a job. He has co-workers. Everybody news and media interviewed were people from his high school, from when he went to school, not when he went to college for 2 years, but like I said, from when he went to high school and even from when he went to middle school. Every photo we have seen of Thomas Matthew Crooks was either when he was from elementary school, middle school, or high school. There has been no recent photos of Thomas Matthew Crooks than the ones that the FBI had put together where he was supposedly seen at the rally. Nobody is asking why are news and media constantly interviewing people that he went to high school with, where there are these statements coming out where he was bullied over his clothes because nobody sat with him during lunch. Everybody picked on him during high school. This man had a full life for 2 years ever since leaving high school. Do we know nothing about this man's life ever since he left high school? What does anybody from his college have to say? What does anybody from his place of work have to say about him? What does any one of his family members have to say about him? But no, they are interviewing people from when he was a teenager. Everything that has come out about Thomas Matthew Crooks from news and media sounds like somebody who just caused a school pow-pow event, not somebody who went to a presidential rally to try to take out an ex-president who's currently running for president. The people that Thomas Matthew Crooks went to high school with, that news and media are interviewing, they sound so scripted, like it was put together last minute in a rush to once again build a narrative against Thomas Matthew Crooks. Then on top of that, it was coming out that Thomas Matthew Crooks had a nickname back in school. He was nicknamed the School Pow Pow, teased for his body odor and hygiene. Again, what does any of this matter? A lot of people are teased in high school. It's rare to find a person who was never teased during high school. None of this matters. I want to know about Thomas Matthew Crooks, the man, the 20-year-old, who left high school behind 2 years ago. But of course they have to give us this and rush this out because this is what was originally built for Thomas Matthew Crooks, the School Pow Pow person, not Thomas Matthew Crooks, the person that caused the incident at Trump's rally, but once again, the person who is going to cause the School Pow Pow event in either September or October. They did not even take their time to fix up any loose ends when it came to this narrative. That's why there's so much back and forth when it comes to what took place on July 13th and when it comes to this individual who's linked to Arizona and this other individual, Thomas Matthew Crooks. They did not even bother to fix up the narrative a bit. They didn't even bother to take the time to make Thomas Matthew Crooks' background sound convincing or his narrative sound convincing. They said, we'll go ahead and release his background anyway, and they'll believe it anyway. And if they don't, we'll release the fact checkers. We will release bots to the comment sections of these videos. It doesn't matter anyway, because in a month or two, they will forget all about July 13th because something new will take its place, just like with Hawaii. Everybody news and media interviewed from his high school all said the same thing. They knew he was going to cause something big because he was ruthlessly bullied, always made fun of, a loner. He tried out for the rifle team and he failed the rifle team. He was not a good shot. Everything he did, he failed. But the high school comes out and says they have no reports where Thomas Matthew Crooks was bullied. They have no reports that he attempted to join the rifle team. They have no reports that he was once a person who was investigated for a potential School Pow Pow event at the Bethel Park High School. There was an email that came out that there was a potential incident involving this high school and they had to lock down, and they said they blamed it on Thomas Matthew Crooks. Well, the high school came out and said, no, That never happened. Everything coming out from news and media is a lie. So if everything is a lie, then where did this whole Thomas Matthew Crooks being bullied at school and that he was a potential school pow-pow person even come from to begin with? The only thing that does make a lick of sense when you put everything together and look at everything as a whole is that two agendas were crossed and Thomas Matthew Crooks was supposed to be used for another agenda, an agenda that happened in September this month. Nobody will ever make me believe that Thomas Matthew Crooks was the person on the roof on July 13th. And since he was not the person on the roof on July 13th, then what was Thomas Matthew Crooks' purpose? Well, his whole narrative, his whole background will tell you what his purpose was. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this channel and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like, as any engagement does help the channel grow. Once again, thank you so much for your support.